and promising prospects for innovation and entrepreneurship. Fueled by a youthful and expanding population, a surge in internet and mobile accessibility, and a thriving technology ecosystem, Africa has become a focal point for both, of course, what we see right here, and grapples with a multitude of challenges that we have. Nevertheless, we keep going. Africa, as we have said, even as it grapples with these challenges and impediments, of course, the progress and endurance of its growing startup ecosystem is on. Eric Munene had a chat with Jeff Mkungusi, right, from Adanian Labs, an incubation lab that supports startups from the ideation stage and, of course, all the way to fully fledged companies. And this is what he had to say. We'll leave you with this great interview. My name is Linda Alela. Do have yourself a lovely evening, even as you watch that.
The startup scene in Africa is led by 4 countries: Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Egypt. Here in Africa, incubation hubs such as Adanian Labs, and especially here in Kenya, help startups grow from ideation all the way to fully fledged company. Today, I speak to Jeff Mkungusi, a representative from Adanian. Thank you so much for finding time to join us on this conversation. So what exactly does Adanian Labs do?
Adanian Labs is a venture studio. We encourage and empower innovators from the ideation stage of unique ideas to actually fully fledged companies. We work with them across the process. We help them set structures. We help them come up with strategies, and we're also able to empower them across different African markets. And with this course, we also see a lot of innovation coming out across multiple market sectors.
You say that you have specific technological tools that help companies grow. Could you mention some of them?
Some of the tech tools mostly cut across 4 market sectors. So you have the agricultural sector, the BFSI sector, the business financial service insurance sector. You have the media sector, and also the healthcare sector. And with these 4 sectors, you see that we also have unique tools that are purely engineered by research to actually be able to be defined for specific local niches across African markets. And agriculture, we have a farm tool, we have a track and trace tool. We have tools around credit scoring, where we help farmers understand risk profiles of soil and some of the challenges they're facing on a weather basis, and also correlated back with location. And business financial service and insurance, we have tools around integrations, around payments, around even some tools within the blockchain ecosystem as well. In media is around advertising. How best can you be able to, how can people earn from rewards with a unique and balanceable business model? How can also patients own their own data is one of the key tools that we also have around healthcare. And also giving power back to the patient is something that also drives that particular tool.
Interesting. So how does Adanian Lab contribute to the growth of dynamic startups in Africa?
How we do that is, first of all, we are able to share out some of the insights that we also gain across Africa, because we're also seeing multiple African countries evolve with external factors that affect them. It can be inflation, it can be problems that sprout out from advanced engineering, and also how we also ideate and develop these particular concepts to be able to guide innovators coming in with ideas. Because think about it this way: you come up with an innovation percent, from a short-term, mid-term, long-term approach, and we also set up structures within the company itself to be able to propagate processes and also make the company be able to move on its own. So so it's from the idea to actually being a company with a life of its own, which is it's been interesting so far.
You say that you come up with partnerships, and I can imagine that is a lot of investments that you do, knowing very well how the startup scene, and especially in Africa, is very volatile. What sets you apart from other incubation hubs?
To Africa. Because when you have a solution as a startup, most people think, fine, it might be for Kenya. But there's Uganda, there's Tanzania, there's Zambia. There are also people living there. There are also people who might really want that particular solution. And that also brings up the insight where a solution that might be even developed in Kenya works totally well in a different market and might not be adopted even from the local hometown. which is a very interesting insight if you actually think about it. So what we're trying to do is how can we also be able to restructure these ideations to be problems, to provide solutions across board in Africa to the world, but not just on a specific local niche, so that they become scalable companies. Because scalability, that also plays a key part around scalability.
Let's talk about such ideas that are probably not accepted at home, but work elsewhere in a better way, and they provide solutions to some of the unique problems that people have, especially in Africa. Do you have some examples that you have?
So some examples also cut across like transactional processes. There might be specific transactional models which might not be accepted in different markets because there's already an established trusted brand. But because there are other countries which have a lot of issues around settlement, around cross-border transactions, then that particular solution might not be quite big, but is actually accepted in a specific niche within a different African market. You have solutions around, know your customer, know your transactions, KYT, around onboarding, solutions around verifiable credentials, which is a new type of technology, but we're seeing it accepted in different countries. We're seeing countries which, from the get-go, you can be able to verify with just a QR code. Massive payments, cross-border payments, and those are some of the solutions. Because with the innovation, it's forward-seeing as well, and where you can be able to deploy the solution itself.
Well, Adanian Labs focuses mostly on the startup ecosystem in Africa. How do you harness the tech talent in Africa? How do you identify, nurture, and leverage on the tech talent in Africa to ensure?
And from that, because again, with innovation, it's also not easy. So you need specific people, not just the right person, not the most knowledgeable person, but a specific person who sees the problem and is passionate about solving that problem. Because now with the startup ecosystem, it's also not easy. It also requires a specific type of sacrifice, a specific type of excellence, a specific type of forward thinking, where you're always having your ear around the echoes that are happening in the world. And then from that, we're able to have a pool, because we also have a very good structure as a company, where we're able to get our venture part of the company to look at the pool, to vet the ideas, because we have a very strong vetting process for the different ideas. Then from that, we're able to invite them in the different countries, because the call is in the countries we're in. And they can be able to talk about the ideas, to defend the ideas. And then we also have a strong panel where, again, that's the final vetting process, where now we schools. And because capacity building is actually something quite big for us, because we're able to curate capacity with very rare skills. And now these are the skills which now support these innovators, because that's what we want. We want to create jobs. We want to make sure that there's industrialization and also upholding the new industrial era around innovation as well. And through that now, as they join this particular process, we're able now to work with them. We're able to understand some of the challenges. We're able to connect and be able to get the right minds to help them. Might even be to deploy to 2 different markets, just to do an analysis on how the product is adopted. Because the insights you can get in South Africa that you might not get in Nigeria, the insights you're getting in Tanzania that you might not get in, for example, Zambia. And also each market also has its own growing trajectory, which we also understand, and we're also correlating that knowledge. And with the experts that we have, we make sure that we work with them to the point that they become fully fledged companies. And even if they're able to exit, our particular process, we still work with them to make sure that they are fully supported. And that's what actually puts us apart.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned something very important here. You've said you keep your ears on the ground to know what is happening in the world. Technology evolves fast. How do you stay updated on technological changes, and how does that knowledge impact on your clients?
First of all, Adanian Labs is a collective of multiple companies. And on these companies, some of them target different market sectors. You have, I can mention a few. You have the Africa Blockchain Center, which looks at the Web3 ecosystem of the world. You have Afia Record, which is a key company that looks at every trending thing in healthcare. You have Rewarders, which is a specific concept that looks at marketing and advertising. So each particular company is targeting a different market sector, and each company also brings its own value. So for example, the Africa Blockchain Center has its own community. You have CryptSense Digital Group, which is a company within the Africa Blockchain Center, which also has its own funnel of knowledge and information. You have a Fair Record, which has its ears around health. You have Thorium, which is a startup within the Adanian ecosystem, which has its ears around agriculture and farming. You have Ecoba, which looks at the saving culture across Africa, the trends, credit scoring. You have AIC, which looks at the AI aspect. So you have all these multiple funnels because it's an ecosystem. And how you curate that knowledge is how we are always at par with each type of technology or emerging technology.
Mm-hmm. Let me take you back a bit. Let's begin from now, ideation. There are not so many incubation hubs in Africa. For someone who's watching right now and they probably have an idea, can you take us through how you take a product from ideation all the way to a scalable product and having it fully fledged, and the kind of resources that you offer to such startups?
So with ideation also, it's also, first of all, it cuts across multiple sectors because we have people who have different ideas, can be across farming, can be engineering, can be minerals, can be computing, can be. So first of all, we take that idea and of course, working with you, we structure it properly, from, okay, this is what you want to start with, but with what's happening in the world, it makes sense to start this way, and this is your roadmap to becoming this. So that's a process on its own. First of all, we have to understand what this is, what's the need, what's the market size, who's the target audience, how, and what's the particular roadmap within milestones that are very clear. Then from that particular process, then we now churn that information and knowledge and understand, okay, now these are the resources that are required. And because we have capacity building cutting across artificial intelligence, you have capacity building in blockchain engineering, and also, crypto, you have capacity building around Web2 technologies, then you see, okay, from these different resource pools, who are some of the bright minds in Africa that we can be able to aggregate. Then as we aggregate, we form those particular teams, of course, working with you and supporting you. Then there's some ideas where somebody can come with a product, but it's not even built properly. So you have to start again, which is also work on its own. Sometimes you get a product which, okay, they have tried, so it requires a bit of amendments just to make sure that at least it meets, because also each market also has a standard. There's regulation, which we're also friends with the regulators. And also with your roadmap that guides, because you can build a product and say, it makes sense to deploy in Cape Town. And then from Cape Town, you can move back to Nigeria. Then from Nigeria, maybe Kenya is the last one. Why? Because by then, the specific policies that will be, because legally law is also an important aspect as well. And some of the key things which we notice with this process is also within this process, who are the right partners? Not just partnering with everyone. And why are you partnering with them? And what's the value correlation and the time span as well? And as we're able to map with that, we have specific plans around building the platform, working on the different assets of the company, where now we have the sales department helping the products to grow and scale, to the point that as you now start owning up and running those particular operations. And of course, in each country, there's also a support frame, which now helps these startups as well. Then in the nutshell now, as within the roadmap, there's also specific part where now the company starts gaining a life of its own. So it starts slowly because you can't even rush as well. So as you start, gaining momentum, we reduce support slowly to the point now you become a fully fledged company.
Well, some great insights there from Jeff Mkungusi from Adanian Labs. We've talked about what it takes to grow a startup all the way from the ideation stage to a fully fledged company. Thank you so much for watching.